Welcome back to Say Nothing, the podcast bringing you an exclusive serialization of this gripping audiobook. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or following along chapter by chapter, settle in, get comfortable, and enjoy the ride. If you can't wait for the next episode, or you'd like to experience Say Nothing in full, you can purchase the complete book right now. Just follow the link in the description. Chapter 2. The monitor blinked as the rain tapped against the window with metronomic precision. Owen's thoughts remained fixed on the moment he opened the letter. Excitement and sorrow had churned inside him, leaving him nauseous and unsettled. What he read had changed everything. It was confirmation that his anger had found direction. Even now, the same disgust he had felt upon reading those words lingered. How could anyone have allowed this to happen? One day, he would have to act. Reclining in his chair, he knew that moment was drawing closer. The thought sent a pulse of anticipation through him, his heartbeat quickening. He refocused on the screen. The email had arrived 10 minutes earlier, still unread. He knew that opening it would reveal whether he was to move forward alone or with support. Taking a deep breath, he steadied his thoughts and clicked. It contained just 3 words. "We're both in." 3 simple words that flooded him with confidence. Now he was part of something greater. The message would carry further. The cause would gain momentum. Before he had a chance to reply, Sarah appeared in the doorway. Heavily pregnant, yet radiant, she had commanded his attention since the moment they met. "Are you coming down? I've been calling for 5 minutes. They'll be here any second." "Really, right, just coming now." He shut the laptop. "How are you getting on with the food? Do you need a hand?" "No, just come downstairs. You've been working too much lately. It's like you're ignoring me." She pulled a mock sad face, fluttering her eyelids, but her act lasted only a moment before they both broke into laughter. "Yes, dear," he joked. "Let me switch this off and I'll be right down in." As he caught up to her in the hallway, he slid his hands across her hips, resting them on the swell of her stomach. He nestled his face into her neck. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "You know you're the most important thing in my life, right?" She turned, cradling his face in her hands. "You need to take a cold shower. It was your sweet talk that got me into this state to start with." They laughed, embraced, and held each other's gaze. She hesitated. Then, with a hint of concern, said, "Just don't forget, I'm going to need you more than ever soon. I can't do this by myself." Owen pulled her close, stroking her hair. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply, letting herself drift into the peace she had fought so hard to find. When the doorbell rang, Owen welcomed their guests warmly, leading them into the lounge where Sarah waited, exhausted. She made to rise, but was quickly stopped. "No, don't get up," Eloise said, bending to kiss Sarah's cheek. "You stay there. I hope he's been looking after you?" She teased, nodding towards Owen. "Nope," he deadpanned. "I've been out all day while Sarah's been tiling the bathroom. Don't care what anyone says, it builds character." Sarah shook her head at his joke. 7 years together, 5 of them married, and he still found humor in everything. But deep down, she recognized the mask. There was something he wasn't sharing. She had tried to get him to open up for years, but he remained guarded. One day, she told herself, one day he'll let me in. For now, she knew he loved her, and that was enough. "Fine," Owen said, turning to their other guest. "Alon, let's fix you guys some drinks and leave these 2 to it." Eloise and Alain were among their closest friends. Born in Paris, their paths to England had been vastly different. Eloise had moved with her parents at 3, and for the most part considered herself British. It was in secondary school that she had met Sarah, an outspoken, feisty blonde whose rebellious nature had been both intimidating and enthralling. Shy by nature, she had gravitated toward Sarah, living out her angst vicariously through her fiery friend. They had been inseparable since. Alain, on the other hand, had remained in Paris, taking over his father's accountancy firm, visiting the UK only for work. One such visit had led him to Eloise. They had met in a small restaurant, drawn together by her recognition of his accent. One thing had led to another, and soon Alain's trips to England became more frequent. They eventually returned to Paris, settling in Montmartre with her husband. Sarah and Owen were quick to follow suit. "So, how's the new book coming along?" Alain asked. "Ellie said you were nearly there." "Nearly there? I should be so lucky," Owen replied, pouring drinks. "No, it's hit a sticky patch. Been waiting on some correspondence for a week now, so I've been stuck. Plus, with the baby on the way, Sarah's had me running errands nonstop, hoping to have the first draft done by the new year. Still writing for that magazine. Here and there. Pays the bills. But the book's the priority." He downplayed how behind he was. Almost everything he said would make its way back to Sarah via Eloise, and he didn't need that stress. Besides, after tonight's email, his focus had shifted. Keep things ticking along for now. Soon, there'd be nothing to hide. The evening passed in a blur. Eloise and Sarah spoke excitedly about motherhood, their friendship stronger than ever. Watching them, Owen felt reassured. They wouldn't be alone in Paris. As he watched Alain sat reading an article he'd written on Northern Ireland's homelessness crisis, his thoughts drifted to Peter. His brother had been on his mind constantly. Now, as events unfolded, he knew he would soon honor his memory. "Owen, this is, what's the word, evocative, powerful." Alain said, looking up. "It's as if you lived through it yourself." Owen, ever uneasy with praise, shrugged. "I met some incredible people. One guy told me he turned to drugs after weeks on the streets. And he wasn't alone. We're always told addiction leads to homelessness, but more often, it's the other way around." Alain frowned. Who would make things worse by choosing addiction? That's the point. It's not a choice, it's survival. Drugs dull the isolation, the monotony. These people aren't lazy. They've had homelessness forced on them, abandoned by a government too busy lining its pockets. Sarah tensed, recognizing the shift in Owen's tone. She had fallen for the passionate Belfast idealist, but she also knew how his anger could consume him. Eloise sensed it too and gently intervened. "Well, that was uplifting," she quipped. "Alain, shall we call it a night? Early start tomorrow, remember?" Owen topped up his glass and downed it in one. "Right, yes," Alain mumbled, rising to fetch their jackets. Sarah remained at the table watching her husband. She wasn't angry, just concerned. From the other room, she heard their guests whisper, "Qu'est-ce que c'était que ça? Il a changé en un instant." Without breaking her gaze, she murmured, "You okay?" "Fine," Owen muttered. "Doesn't matter." Sarah sighed. "Sleep on it," she thought. "If it's still a problem tomorrow, then we'll talk." Thank you for listening to this excerpt from Say Nothing, a compelling thriller currently available on Amazon. Follow the link in the description to order your copy today. Please like and review this podcast and recommend to your friends. Don't forget to tune in again and join us for the next chapter.